Alrighty, everyone, we are back. Wow, boy, that was the worst timing for that to happen. It was right when we had that spin up tornado that it decided it wanted to do that, and go figure. I think we used too much of the bandwidth, uh, and like I said, there's someone on the street who's got to be doing it. Yeah, we were taking a look at that spin up little rotation signature that popped up on the radar imagery. We were following the video from that one storm chaser person, but that might have overloaded it possibly a little bit. Regardless, as we were talking about earlier today, well, earlier in the video, I'm going to go ahead and flip the screen back over for you guys so that you all can see what I'm looking at here. We were taking a look here just a few scans ago at what might have been, it was certainly a good little rotation signature that spun up. And earlier in this chat, we were talking about spin up tornadoes, and we were talking about, let me phrase this. We were talking about little spin-up tornadoes that can happen sometimes with these storm lines, or at least especially kind of once they get going, and that kind of looked like, at least on the radar, what may have tried to happen a little bit. There was a little bit of a spin-up there. It does appear, though, that that signature, as I mentioned earlier, that they don't last very long, and that appears to be the case here. Even the tornado warning has been really hatched down, and not only that, but we're pretty much that rotation signature is gone. So I'm not sure. Before we lost the signal, I'm not sure how far in that we got with that warning. It had been issued, and then again, it was very very quick, very very short lived. In fact, if we were to go ahead and play it back here, I'm going to kind of show you it here again. It was very quick, very little brief. We were watching that that gust of wind, which it does appear probably had at least a good 60-mile-an-hour wind gust for it. You could see on your right here on this screen, you can see there is just a little bit of a rotation signature right there. A very short-lived. If there was a tornado, it was likely right there, and very very quick, very very weak. It'll be interesting to see if there is actually any damage associated with it. But again, it did not appear to be very strong at all. So, and again, it was very, very quick and very, very short lived. And like I said, sometimes when those warnings are issued, they happen pretty much right. Sometimes as soon as those warnings get put out, the signature kind of disappears a little bit. So that's kind of what we were looking at a little bit with that. So I know, go figure, the climactic part of this YouTube live, and the signal went out. Go figure. Well, we're still getting it. We're still getting it worked out. At least, gotten most of the kinks out. Remember, folks, we just started doing this, so there's still probably going to be a few more little bumps here and there. I have to watch back. I'll have to look back and see. I'll have to look back and see, because I'm curious as to whether or not we were live when we did see that rotation fire up, at least initially, and that warning was first issued. Unfortunately, we might have missed a little bit of it. At least you might have missed a little bit of it, because I found out I was just kind of talking to myself for a brief moment. I don't know how long I was. So there's that. So, all right. We talked about the storms. Again, we'll kind of keep an eye on them maybe for a couple more little radar scans here and there. Again, what we're really looking at is, these storms are kind of firing up across Michigan. They're likely going to kind of develop a little bit into a line later on and push their way towards Detroit, and then eventually over towards the Cleveland area, maybe bringing some gusty winds with them. Earlier, I talked about sometimes with these squall lines, you can get what's known as a little spin-up tornado within them. It looks like we kind of had that happen, or maybe try to happen a little bit, a couple moments ago with the radar, but yeah. So fun times there as well. So again, that was all the way up in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and it looks like right now that It looks like right now that the storm has blown over the radar site, so it looks like we've kind of lost at least some kind of little bit in the way of some radar data. Well, we haven't lost it; it's just temporarily obscured because of the heavy rain. I mean, the radar imagery is still there; it's just not quite as much. You know what I mean? We're talking, 100% to 99%. Anyways, but it'll probably pass over here pretty quickly, and then it'll get back to regular. So we were taking a look there at that particular line. There are some other storms all the way over around trying to approach the Detroit area, but again, they're still a little ways away. And we'll kind of keep a little bit of an eye on it here. I want to see what we got going on up here. I'm going to flip back up the radar screen for you. It does look like we got kind of another nice little pocket of some heavy winds here. Behold the matrix, and we'll go back there here for you guys. So it looks like we have another little nice pocket. Now we're looking, all right, we are looking north of Detroit. This is kind of in between Flint and the Detroit area. So we're kind of, not necessarily, I don't believe this is a heavily populated county. I know down here, I think this is Oakland County, and that's very, very populated. But up here, I don't think it's as much. But regardless, what we're looking at right here is this storm. Now, again, you see two different parts of the screen here. The right side is velocity. We use that to look for wind and rotation. The left side is the regular reflectivity that you're used to seeing. Telling us, kind of the drop size and, the amount of moisture in a particular area, a little scan. So that's the rain. We're looking at the same location, just, different types of radar scans. So what we're looking at here kind of at the moment is, this right here, probably the possibility for a little, 50 or 60 mile an hour wind gust right there. That is what it was warned for. You can see that there, might be hard to see on your screen, but the Weather Service has put this warning up for winds, not hail at this point. At this point, they're not expecting any hail with this storm, and if there is, it's very minimal. But it's mainly for wind. So again, severe thunderstorm warnings are issued, for either strong winds or hail. Or maybe the possibility for a tornado, but that's sometimes an extra add-on. It just has to have one of those, either hail or the wind, to be able to get a severe thunderstorm warning. And as I mentioned, when these storms sometimes first fire up, they kind of have an all type of situation with them where they could have a little bit in the way of hail and even some, rotation probabilities, and then we see it switching to just kind of a wind event with the possibility for maybe a little spin up here and there sometimes at times. So taking a look here, this looks to be like a really nice burst of wind here trying to set up. And we're looking back at Grand Rapids now. This was the same storm that we were watching just a little bit ago. And all I'm doing here is I just want to see here on the what the radar is indicating. It's indicating about 70. Actually, it's even indicating upwards of about 75. But again, we got to subtract some miles an hour from that. Is this is a little higher up, and this is not necessarily for a little higher up. We should subtract at least 10 miles an hour. So it's probably 60, 65 mile an hour wind gusts. That little section right here around the Grafton area. Weather Service has 60 miles an hour. And look, they also put the tag in. We were just talking about it. They also put the tag of tornado possible on it. I don't think you see it here in the text, but that is actually now tagged there because we did have that little spin up at least indication earlier on. That's since gone away, but it's still the same storm, and it might try it again later on. But this is a pretty decent radar signature here. And again, we're looking probably about the possibility for 60 to maybe 60 to 65 mile an hour wind gusts are going to be possible with that particular section here of the storm. So that's kind of a look at least at that right now, what that's going on. All righty. So we also have this little burst over here. That's not quite as much though. So we'll keep an eye on that storm as it makes its way around the Grand Rapids area. Well, it's already passed through Grand Rapids. Now it's kind of on its way towards Lansing, Michigan. I know someone who works there. Used to to work with me at one of my stations, and last time I checked, that's where he was at, was Lansing. But so they're probably keeping a busy eye on that. Of course, he didn't do weather though; he was in sports. But watching as those storms make their way down towards Lansing. Over here, we got still kind of a strong storm, but not quite as strong, at least with the way the radar looks. It doesn't appear that we have gotten any storm reports yet from this particular area of storms here. Trying to see maybe if there was one or two back out across. I mean, it went right over northern Grand Rapids, so you think that there would be at least a couple of reports of wind or hail or something. But let's see, is there going to be any? Let's see here. Oh, well, that would probably help. All right, let's go ahead here and see if we've gotten any reports. No, we have not gotten any reports yet, but we saw in that video there were certainly at least some gusty winds with that storm. My guess is they're probably going to be a little delayed, but my guess is yeah, there's probably at least some minor wind damage in the form of a few branches here and there, and maybe a little bit of power outages, maybe a couple places. And I'm curious to see about obvious, but it might be hard to tell. So we'll keep an eye on this storm here. Again, this has kind of been the kind of the main one that we've been watching. Probably for about the past, well, what would you say, half hour? I think, guys, we've been watching this. So there's that. So we'll keep an eye on this storm here for a few more radar scans, and then naturally it's getting close to about 9 o'clock for those of you in the Eastern time zone. It's getting close to about 8 o'clock for those of you in Central time. But we'll keep an eye on this probably for a few more moments here. We'll see what the storm tries to do again here. But again, as mentioned, it's likely going to try and develop into a line. We got this little notch down here. That could be interesting to watch. But, sometimes you got to keep in mind that it might look like it, but it might not be it. It happens sometimes in radar is that, you get something that looks like a signature, but, it's obviously not. It's the way it works sometimes. But anyways, well, you get what I'm saying. I digress. Let's go ahead and let's kind of keep it. I mean, this storm is starting to look. I mean, it's starting to look like it certainly does have some very gusty winds with it. It looks like they're still tagging it for 60 miles an hour, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's at least a possibility for some 65-mile-an-hour wind gusts or so within that. There goes tornado warning. I'm surprised it went that long, as the storm is now way, way out of the area. And not only that, but the rotation signature, at least in the area that we were watching, is pretty much all but gone. We'll kind of take a look here a little bit further up towards the north, some pockets here and there. We got this little guy we're taking a look at here. So it looks like we got kind of two sections of that storm now that are trying to maybe kind of get together here. And again, this is north of Detroit. So it looks like our line is beginning to kind of come into shape now. So we're probably going to start losing that possibility for the hail that we were seeing a little bit ago, at least around Michigan. This is likely starting to transition into more of a wind event. Again, as mentioned, there's always the possibility for a little spin up here or there in terms of a tornado when we're dealing with lines like this. But, they tend to not be very frequent normally in most storm lines, though there are exceptions. But so we'll kind of keep an eye on this guy. Like I said, right now this appears to be the strongest portion. Like I said, we're looking at probably close to let's see here. That's going to be, yeah, it's getting close to about 65 or 70 mile an hour winds, possibly in that section. Now, mind you, it's a little high up, so we would subtract about, my rule of thumb was always about 10 miles an hour in most cases. So it's probably close to, 60, 65 mile an hour wind gusts there, but it's coming right up now on the Iona area. And again, we're on the east side now of the Grand Rapids Metro, and this is likely going to try to kind of start making its way over towards, well, this particular section of the storm is kind of moving eastwards. It'll probably pass north of Lansing, but still kind of in the Lansing area. There's also additional storms further down to the south. See this guy trying to develop down here. We'll see what that does. There maybe might be try a little bit of inflow. It looks like the radar is indicating at least a slight amount of faint rotation, but could also just be an outflow running into another outflow. So we'll keep an eye on that for another scan or two. But again, this is mainly going to be kind of a wind type of situation. So with that in mind, for those of you who are joining, I know we had a live going on earlier on, and then the internet just happened to crash right at probably the most excitement that we were going to see for the night. Got it back up and running here. I know most of our viewers probably have went on about their way. At least for the evening. But some people still sticking around to maybe watch the second half of this, kind of see as this line begins to develop a little bit more here. We're not going to stick with it all night, obviously. This show doesn't necessarily go that long. Now, I will say though, folks, that there are instances though where something active is going to be happening at nighttime. Oh, believe me, we will have a late night show. Um, hurricane landfalls or, other events. But, as far as severe weather is concerned, most of the time it tends to be late afternoon and evening hours. So uh, there are some times where it goes overnight, but, you know, anyways, this will go into the overnight for sure. But, you get what I'm saying. All right, let's take a look here. It looks like there is at least a little bit of a notch trying to form here, a little bit of the way of some rotation. We have uh, winds are going this way down here. Winds are going this way right here. So there is a little bit. We kind of see a very faint looking, what looks to be kind of a little bit of a faint looking hook there, and whether we call that. But again, probably if there is anything, it might not have much time to really work because again, this storm is probably going to run into it right behind it. This main one here. And again, look at the winds with that now. We're starting to see those wind values now even getting a little bit higher here on the radar. So we're probably getting close now. I wouldn't be surprised if this eventually gets up to about 70 mile an hour on the warning tag. Let's see here if they've done that. They still have it at 60 mile an hour with 1 inch size hail, and tornado is still possible with it. Yeah, I mean that's like I said, we're not expecting this is not going to be at least is not right now. We're not expecting this is going to be a major derecho or something like that. It's certainly going to be a very potent squall line when it does come through, with winds probably 60, 70 miles an hour. I wouldn't be shocked if maybe one isolated place or two got a 75 mile an hour wind gust just based on the signatures, but we're not expecting this to be, anything record shattering or whatnot. Just kind of a stronger than normal, but not unheard of storm line that'll be kind of working its way over across Michigan and then eventually into northeastern Ohio around the Cleveland area and then making its way down into Pennsylvania before it probably weakens after that. But that's going to be late tonight when that makes its way into the Cleveland area. So again, right now it's all the way back out in Grand Rapids. You can start to see now, it looks like if we kind of zoom out a little bit, you're able to see that now we're starting to lose the individual storms. We were talking about this earlier this evening. These storms start off, individual, and then they'll start running into each other and start forming into a line. We lose the hail and tornado probabilities, at least go down significantly when that happens. Spin ups are still a thing, but then it just kind of transitions into a wind event and just kind of a big blob of thunderstorms nonetheless. It looks like, hold on a second there. We did get a wind damage report. There's a tree on a house, possible tornado. Radar showed debris signature in this area. That makes sense. So, folks, it did look like right when our internet cut out, there was a tornado. Possibly that did happen. So, really quickly, let's just see this guy that we were following the video of earlier. Yeah, it looks like he's not in the area anymore. Man, that is a real shame that we the internet crashed right when that happened. And again, we're looking back up around this area is where it looked like there was possibly a tornado, and it looks like they might be thinking that now too. It might have been. There was a debris signature. We didn't look at the correlation coefficients, but my guess is that if we were to do that really quickly here, we would probably maybe see something. I know it looked like at one point that there might have been something on the radar itself, uh, but that was just for one image here. Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see. what becomes of that. Of course, we'll know more tomorrow. So we're going to go back down here really quickly. Just take a look. Keep an eye on this little notch right there. We'll see what that tries doing. And then obviously, like I said, this is going to transition into a pretty decent wind event. So with that in mind, it sounds like one of our friends is here. For those of you still with us, might as well give it a little bit of a treat here. I think Velvet wants to join in. Velvet? Velvet's a nut. Good. There we go. Come here. Ah, she doesn't. She's shy. She doesn't want to be on. She doesn't want to be on the YouTube. Velvet, come here. This is Velvet. She's the weather kitty, and oh, as seen on TV before, this is Velvet. Velvet, say hello to everyone who's watching and who may be watching in the future. Velvet, put it in yet? Put it in yet? Yeah, she's a good kitty. She's the weather kitty. She helps out sometimes when it comes to the weather. So Velvet is a rescue kitty. That's right. I've had her now. Well, Velvet, you and I have been together for what now? 8 years, and you're gonna be 10, and no one wanted you. She's such a cuddle bun. Isn't that right? Yeah, you're not having a good time though, are you? You don't like it. You used to like being on TV. You were all the time back in Zanesville. All right. Anyways, there's Velvet, the weather kitty. Okay, I'll feed you in a little bit. She's hungry. It's past her dinner time a little bit there, but the weather waits for no one. All right, so we're gonna go ahead here and take a couple more looks here at the radar scan, and then we'll go ahead and probably wrap this video up here. Again, as mentioned, we'll be doing this again tomorrow night. And hey, if you happen to like these videos, even if you're watching later on, Velvet, Daddy's talking. Goofball. See, I never should have let her in. Now she wants to steal the show. Well, you didn't want to be on, but now you want to be on? Oh, the joys of felines. She's not alone in this household either, that's for sure. She's got her sister, but sister doesn't want to be on TV. Anyways, so, if you happen to be watching this later on, feel free to subscribe to this channel. Again, we do these weather chats at least during the weekdays. We'll probably do one over the weekend, especially with Franklin when it comes to hurricane. And maybe we'll take a look at, because tomorrow we also got storms that we're going to take a look at again. The same frontal boundary that's producing what we've been tracking over in Michigan will kind of work its way down to the south and to probably the Ohio River Valley as we go into the day tomorrow. Yes, hello. Hello. See, this is what happens when you I give her what, a minute, and now she wants an hour of TV time. But so yeah, so tomorrow we got a lot to be talking about too. We're going to be talking about everything probably from Franklin to we're going to talk about Franklin. We're going to talk about storms if there are any ongoing tomorrow. And naturally, we are going to take a little bit of a look at the tropics too. So yeah, it'll be kind of an active day. We'll have probably some more high temperature values to take a look at, but you get the idea overall. Velvet, you got a fan already. Yeah, someone said hello to you. I'm going to close this door now really quickly so you can't come back, at least for now. Come back later. Maybe sometime we'll get Lyra up on here. But anyways, yeah, so we are going to be back here again tomorrow evening, and we'll take a look at, again, some more storms and everything else. Hopefully, during the most exciting part, the internet won't decide it wants to stop. It didn't do that yesterday, whatever. But, anyways, so that is a look, kind of what's going on. I thank you all very much. For those of you who joined in earlier and also joined in on the first stream, thank you all guys very much for taking the time to join me. We'll be back here again tomorrow. I'll be watching this storm line here for you guys, and of course you can all track it at home to yourselves. Weather Service has their radar and everything else, but I'll probably be watching this as we go forward through the evening to myself, and then of course that watch will probably be expanded. We'll see it make its way into the Cleveland area overnight tonight, and then eventually we will see some more storms maybe trying to fire up down across the mid-south as we head into the day tomorrow. Same frontal boundary. That should be pretty fun to watch. So I'll go ahead and leave you all now. Yeah, I think we had a pretty good time. That's what I think. All right. Well, everyone, I hope you all have a good rest of your evening. I'll see you back here tomorrow, probably around the same time, maybe a little bit earlier if those storms fire up in the mid-south later on or earlier on in the afternoon. We'll take a look at that too. But certainly make sure you tune back in. And like I said, feel free to subscribe to this channel. Again, we're still in the process of growing, and we actually technically haven't even officially launched yet. So those of you who are watching, you're like legacy viewers. Legacy viewers, you get to watch before the show, even before we actually have the official launch of everything. So that's some good news there. So I thank you all very much for taking time to join me here. I'll see you guys back here tomorrow evening.